As I said, I met with the group thinking about ministry outside. That is reaching new people, ministry in the community, service projects, that sort of thing. As we thought about outside the building, the first thing that came up in our conversations was the video. Thinking about where we are now as a congregation as opposed to a couple of years ago, that we're live streaming our services, which makes it able for anybody in the world to participate with us in worship, and indeed how we have had people do that over the last couple of years, especially since we started doing it. The video was good. One of the things that we talked about was how do we make that more interactive? How do we engage people that maybe are joining us from a distance online? How do we make that more interactive? Thinking about service projects and how we would like to get more involved in the community. One of the things we noted was how the sort of barrier of entry to doing, to work with charities, to work with service organizations has changed since the beginning of COVID. And indeed, for a while during COVID, you couldn't. People weren't taking volunteers, and some of that is still carried through, where there's still this a little harder to do those sorts of projects. How do we overcome that? We did recognize that lots of our members are involved in lots of other organizations, community organizations, neighborhood organizations. And how can we as a congregation support our members as they're interacting in the wider community through these other organizations and not just through church? And are there ways we as a congregation can support that sort of service, even if it's not sponsored by the church, but it's still doing good in the community? And one of the big things that we talked about, which is one of the reasons why we had the potluck today, is just how we missed doing things together. As a congregation, and then doing things outside the congregation, just being together, building community as we're able to interact with one another around an event, like a meal or a project or something like that. And now they were hoping that that could be more something that we do more of in the near future, just doing things together, being together. Those were the highlights from our group. Is there anything in my group that just something that stood out in your memory that you want to share? Okay. Let me turn it over to